sustainability nuggets. And today we are going to be talking about practical tips for practicing sustainable fashion. I know that sounds like a tongue twist, but tips that can actionable tips that can help us practice sustainable fashion within the as Nigerians, as Africans, because not not like the way you practice it in one country may be different from the way you practice it on another country or another continent due to like cultural differences and a lot of other differences. So we are going to be looking at how we are going to practice sustainable fashion in a way that makes sense to us as Nigerians, firstly, and then of course the African continent as well. And we are joined today by Joy Oshiokenoya, who is the founder of Threadit. Joy is a sustainable fashion and conscious fashion advocate. She is the founder of Threadit, and Threadit is a platform that brings together, people in fashion sustainability, enthusiasts, professionals, people passionate about conscious fashion. Threadit brings them together in a community to provide guidance and support. And she's going to be telling us more about how we can actively or actionably practice sustainable fashion. So welcome, Joy. It's so good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Ikeoluwa, for having me here. And thank you to Miss Green Fashion as well.
Great. So we are going to get started with how you got into sustainable fashion. So what is your story? How did you get into sustainable fashion and how did you start Threadit?
All right. And thank you very much. So how did I get into sustainable fashion? I would say that I've always been a fashion girly right from when I was pretty much new. And the first business I ever started at age 7, 8 was a fashion business. I started alongside a friend of mine during the long summer holiday. Would sell beads, bracelets, beaded earrings. We sell them for like 5 naira, 10 naira, 20 naira, and that lasted us throughout the summer holiday. I went to resume, then everyone went to their separate life. And then when I was 10, 11, I went through my old Barbie era and I wanted to become a fashion illustrator. I'd, take out my drawing book and scribble, different styles, blazers, skirts, until I discovered I couldn't draw to save my life. And that was the end of my career as a fashion illustrator. But I would say fashion has always been a part of me. I really love styling. I really love, playing around with clothes and fabrics. But sustainable fashion in particular, that came to me in 2023. I just graduated from university and I wanted to start a business, but I wanted to start a business that I was deeply interested in, something that I wouldn't get bored of, something that I could just, do for a very long time. And I decided to start a second-hand clothing business, what we know as OKK. But then as a marketing girl as well, I was, I kept asking myself the question, how do I stand out? There are 1,000,001 Instagram vendors selling secondhand clothing. So what is the story behind my brand? How do I stand out? And I started, doing marketing analysis, marketing survey and all that. And in the course of my research, I came across the term sustainable fashion for the first time ever. And I was blown away. I was like, oh, how come I'd never heard of this term before? And the more I researched, the more intrigued I got. And I am the kind of person that if I learned something, I want everyone to know about it. So on my WhatsApp status, I wasn't really active on Instagram then, but on my WhatsApp status, on TikTok, I was constantly talking about it. I posted it about it, as well as, hinting people that I wanted to start a secondhand clothing store soon as well. So I just really felt like, oh, that was a nice marketing angle. That was a story that I could use to sell my my business. But surprisingly, the business never happened. Rather, I started a newsletter at that point, and I was constantly writing about sustainable fashion. The newsletter didn't last for long, I think 2, 3 months. And eventually, I, the business didn't happen. I couldn't get funding for the business. So I started to like, just chill on that. But I am so grateful for that phase because if I didn't, if I wasn't researching about how to sell my second-hand clothing, I would have never come across, the term sustainable fashion. I would never have gone through that phase. And I am so thankful that, the business never happened, but the lessons and everything stayed with me. So years later, I would constantly still ask people that remembered me from my WhatsApp status this. I'll constantly have people ask me, oh, what's sustainable fashion about again, and this and that. And I was like, okay, I think it's time to revive my newsletter. So rather than just answering one DM to DM today, just time to revive my newsletter because it was something I really enjoyed talking about. It was like, oh, I'm new to this thing. Here is my journey. I want everyone to follow me along my journey of, discovering and learning about sustainable fashion. So in 2025, I was like, you know what? I want to start my newsletter again. And I started researching more about sustainable fashion. And while researching about sustainable fashion, I noticed a gap. And that gap was that most of the tips you'd find, say for instance, you Google practical tips, to practice sustainable fashion. Most of the tips you find were really, centered around the global north. Most of the conversation, most of the discourse surrounding sustainable fashion were really from that perspective. So there were certain tips that I couldn't apply, right? If someone asked me, I couldn't tell them that, oh, go to the local recycling bin in your community and, put clothes you no longer want there. There's nothing like that in my street, right? So there were tips that, I couldn't practice and I couldn't tell anyone around me to practice because it just wasn't a reality. And because of that gap, I decided to like, start Threadit, which is talking about sustainable fashion or educating people about sustainable fashion, but from a lived reality, which is from our African perspective, right? Ensuring that sustainable fashion wasn't such a big thing that we couldn't relate to, but it was both relevant and relatable to young people specifically living in Africa. And that was how Threadit started. So Threadit is a sustainable fashion media brand. And what we do is we help people and brand understand sustainable fashion in simple, relatable way. And yeah, that's been my journey so far.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. Did you say you started a business at 7 or 8 years
Yeah,
old?
I
Oh,
love
some
money.
of us were busy playing with sand and playing with dolls. Oh my, yeah, you must be a billionaire by now. Oh. You were busy securing the bag.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Uh,
Yeah, I love money. I love the idea of business. I love the idea of making my own money. Oh
that's
my
so
god.
nice.
Yeah.
That's really inspiring. Like that is amazing. And I feel like, of course, you're like one of the best people to like provide education, provide guidance to people because you started out so young and you like evolved over time. And people need to learn that you can evolve even if you didn't start as a sustainable fashion professional or a brand, you can always evolve into that, moving on. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much.
So you were saying that when you realized that there were no like practical ways to, take action as regards fashion sustainability in like the way that it fits into the Nigerian context or the African context. So it was hard for you to tell people that you should engage in sustainable fashion. So and you are trying to address that problem, and that is why you started Threadit.
Yeah.
So which this leads me to my next question. So how do we practice sustainable fashion? Like we don't want like the dreamy ideas and the theories. We want practical tips that we can go out and implement. We can do it like even in the comfort of our home. We can tell the next person who is probably not as well educated, and they also take action with whatever it is that we tell them.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much for that question. And I think I'll start by saying with sustainable fashion, first and foremost, different people with how they interpret the term sustainable fashion, right? And because interpretation can differ from one person to another, I would also say that generally there is no one size fits all, tip that everyone can use, because people have different lifestyle, people have different budget, people have different, background, perspective, and all that. So I'd say there is no, one size fits all answer. But I'm hoping that, even if it's just one tip that anyone listening can take and run along with them, I think would have achieved our goal. So I'll start by saying, knowing your closet, right? Knowing the clothes you want, knowing everything. Um, Recently, I was reading this book on sustainable fashion, and one of the practical tips there was, taking an inventory of your clothes, right? Knowing how many shirts you own, how many trousers you own, and all of that. And it might seem so irrelevant, right? But then there is this meme flying around where they'll say women would keep on buying clothes, but then when they have a special occasion, they'll come up and say, I don't know what to wear. Oh, I don't have anything to wear. And you tell yourself, I need to buy a new clothes because I don't have anything to wear for this special occasion, right? But if you know what you want, you know how many shirts you want, how many trousers you want, how many pants you want, you are better able to, ensure that you're not buying clothes, right? You also know that, okay, this is what I own, this is what I'm not currently using, this is how best to dispose of this. You know that this is how best to donate this. This is something that doesn't fit me anymore. If something doesn't fit you anymore, what is it doing in your wardrobe, right? Maybe I can upcycle it into something else. But taking inventory of your clothes is such an essential way. Like, it doesn't cost you money, it doesn't cost you anything, but it is an essential way to practice sustainable fashion, right? Knowing that, okay, I've had this piece for the longest while and I don't wear it often. It is time to bring it at the front so that every morning, like I said something, and I was like, I don't know how many clothes I have in my closet, and I am actually planning on, taking that inventory. But what I do from time to time is I rearrange my entire clothes, right? And then I pick out, the one I don't wear so often, and then I put them at the front so that anytime I wake up in the morning and I open my wardrobe, I'm like, I have to figure out a way to style you. I have to figure out a way to wear you, right? So if I have a new occasion, I'm like, oh, it's been a long time I've worn this clothes. It's time to figure out a way to wear it, right? So I feel like knowing what you own is such an essential way to practice sustainable fashion. Sorry, please hold on.
That is beautiful. I think I resonate with the idea of going through your wardrobe and bringing to the front clothes that you haven't worn in a while, so that you wear them first before the others. That is like a wardrobe hack for a lot of people. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Okay, I would say next on the list would be wearing your clothes. That again doesn't cost anything. So when I was quite younger, I never knew there was an unspoken rule that you're not supposed to wear the clothes you wore last Sunday to church again next Sunday. So I was a normal teenager. I had forgotten that, oh, this was the clothes I wore last Sunday. So I just put it on. It looks good and all. And when I went to church, I had a friend come to me and she was like, this is not the same clothes you wore last week Sunday. Why are you wearing the same clothes again this week? Don't you have another clothes to wear? And at that moment, I literally felt ashamed. I was like, that's true. I have other clothes. Why did I wear the same clothes from last week? And unconsciously, I carried that mentality, that mindset that, don't wear, you're not supposed to wear the same clothes you wore last week Sunday to church this week, right? I'm supposed to figure out something else to wear. And I feel like there is a certain stigma attached to wearing. And it's funny because it is your clothes, right? It is your clothes. So why can't I wear my own clothes? I'm pretty sure that if a popular celebrity now wore an outfit to, let's say, the AMVCA award last year and wear the same outfit, vlogs are going to carry it all around. As so it could be, but it is your clothes. It is your clothes. So why not be wearing your clothes? Why is there a certain stigma attached to wearing the same clothes? So I'll say another practical tip is wear your clothes, style it differently. And I feel like wearing your clothes, just picks at this creative side of you, right? You get to think, oh, how can I style it differently? How can I wear it differently? It's literally the same clothes. So I'll say wear your clothes, know your clothes, enjoy your clothes, use it. It's your money. Use it to the fullest. Wear your clothes and remove every stigma attached to wearing your clothes. And then you also see Another important thing is the actionable culture, right? So the actionable culture, while I understand that it's an essential part of our culture, I believe we have to rethink how we approach that, because the actionable culture would have you buying a new Ankara every Saturday for one wedding, for one occasion, for, there's a wedding, there's a birthday, there's this, there's that. And eventually you're buying one new Ankara every Saturday, and it shouldn't be so, right? It shouldn't be so. So I think,
I completely
you said?
I said I completely agree. And these days,
Exactly. So I think we have to, take a pause on that and rethink. I really totally understand that, actually this is a part of our culture. It's a way to, let's say, assist the family doing, a certain occasion and all that. But I feel like there are other ways that we can go about it, right? I feel like it should be okay for me to be a certain list to like 3, 4 different weddings. I shouldn't have to buy a new list every time I have to go to a new wedding, right? So it all boils down to wearing your clothes as often as you can. And I think that will lead me to my next tip, which is caring for your clothes. Again, I would say this does not cost a lot of money, and it just takes your time. And one way to like care for your clothes more would be washing it less. Washing it less, yeah. So recently I made an Instagram video talking about this, and I was emphasizing the fact that if you take a look at our parents' clothes, especially our mom wrappers, you'd see wrappers of 10 years, 20 years, wrappers that are even older than you are. And when you look at them, they look brand new. They look brand new. And then you wonder how were these people able to keep this clothes for 10, 20, 30 years, and yet they still look brand new. And one of the way they do that is by washing the clothes less. When you wash your clothes less, you retain the quality of the fabric. Your jean that you're washing after every use would fit faster than if you're washing it, let's say, after every 2, 3 use. So washing your clothes, I know that I understand fully well that there are certain outfits, certain fabrics you wear that you just need to wash after every use, right? But then at the same time, I believe that there are certain outfits that should wait its turn, like should wait after probably 1 use, 2 use, or 3 use before washing them. It's okay to just take them out for them to air dry and probably spot clean them. Probably I think there was something we used to do when we were younger. You take a brush and a soap, and then you just clean the place that the light stain or something. Exactly. This has been we've been doing for a long while, and we can still continue doing them. We just didn't attach a term to them, sustainable fashion, but we actually practice sustainability. So you just take your jean, your brush, and then just spot clean and air dry, and you are good to go, right? Rather than washing repeatedly. And I think also because we have, washing machine and all of that now, it's exactly, you just don't think about it. You just subconsciously take it off straight to your machine, and it's out of your hands. But you are cleaning your fabric that way. Another way I'd say we should care for our clothes would be to mend them, right? Mend rather than toss them. And I think that's a I think that's where we differ from like the global north. When I do my research about sustainable fashion and mending as well, I think it's not as I think mending is not an easily accessible option to them in the global north than it is to us right here, right?
totally.
Exactly. So mending is quite accessible. You can walk down your street and find a tailor store that is ready to mend at such a cheap price.
Yes.
So why then are we throwing away our clothes? Why then are we throwing away our clothes? And I think I think if you don't have a tailor easily accessible to you, then a YouTube tutorial will teach you how to use a needle and thread. It will teach you how to put back a button that's come loose. We teach you how to a small tear, a small hole. Exactly. So just mending your clothes, washing your clothes, taking good care of your clothes is such an essential part of practicing sustainable fashion. And I believe that often we do not care for our clothes as we should, because we oftentimes remove the human aspect of clothing production.
Yes.
Most of the time, no, as in how many times do we actually take time think and like, how is this a single shirt, right? How is this shirt produced? I think most of the time people don't think about it, or they just think it's AI. I don't know, or it's a machine or
Or it's
something.
a
But
robot or something.
exactly. But it is literally a human being making this clothes, right? So I had a friend come spend some few weeks at my place. I crochet and she also crochet. And she made my beautiful crochet earring, by the way.
Oh,
So
it's
she was
beautiful. I'm looking at it actually. It's really nice.
thank you. So she was crocheting a poncho, and in total, she told me because she was just there crocheting. I'll be walking, I'll look to my left, she's crocheting, she's watching a movie, she's crocheting, she's eating, she's crocheting, and eventually it took her in total 40 hours to make a poncho, a crochet poncho. And when she was done, I'm not sure she allowed me to touch it. Don't use your oil hand to touch it. She was answering it neatly. I was like, is it that serious? This is another
It is
clothes. She's
the
like,
40 hours. It's
exactly.
it is.
Exactly. She said it's not just another clothes. It's something I spent 40 hours on. Like, aside the money she used to buy yarn and all that, 40 good hours of handwork. So I think oftentimes when she's not going to treat that clothes the way she just toss her other clothes. She's going to treat that poncho like gold. Exactly. So I think oftentimes we do not care for our clothes because we remove the human side of clothing production. And that's why I feel like it's quite important for sustainable fashion brand and just fashion brand in general to show the behind the scene of their production. Let your consumer, let your customer get up close and personal. Let them know that it took you so and so hours of time to make this one shirt. So this one shirt is precious. Somebody labored to ensure that you have this one shirt. So you do not get to treat it just anyhow. You do not get to say, I am bored, I am tired, and then just trade one in a particular way. So getting familiar with the human nature of clothing production, I think would help us, as consumers, get our clothes better. So please give me a moment.
That is, thank you for sharing. There was I think I was saying like a video like a few days ago, and it was a robot by a sewing machine, an industrial sewing machine. So the robot was trying to feed like fabric underneath the, what was it called? I can't remember the name now. I was basically trying to sew, and it took forever to to put the clothes underneath the, what was it called? Is it feed? I can't remember now. Underneath to sew. It took forever before it even started sewing. Like, and everybody behind the robots were looking like they were waiting for performance, yeah. And it was like forever now. And the person that posted it was like, I was expecting so much more from this robot. I mean, I'm sure the technology will get better. Maybe
Yeah,
someday, maybe robots will be able to. So, but for now, humans are the ones. So there's
exactly.
nothing like a teammate or being. Humans are the ones behind. They are the ones operating even the
Exactly.
machines, everything like that.
Exactly. And I think it's just really important that everyone knows that and everyone is familiar with that. Thank you. So I'll go next to my fourth tip, and I would say is practicing conscious shopping. And when we talk about sustainable fashion, right, we oftentimes say, reduce how you buy clothing, right? Or just go. I think there is this clothing brand that does this no new clothes month. I don't know what month that is, but we do the whole no new clothes month, just like the way we have second and September.
Yes, I think it's Fashion Revolution. I'm not sure.
Yes. So Fashion Revolution, they have this no new clothes month and all that. And you see that it is quite hard for a lot of people to practice this. I mean, quite hard.
Which is surprising because why are you buying like why are you buying new clothes every month or something? Why?
Exactly. It's so hard for a lot of people to practice that. And that's why we need to inculcate, conscious shopping. So it's going to be hard to say don't buy new clothes or don't buy any clothes totally so that you be, more sustainable and all that. But rather than just saying don't buy new clothes, I think it's more better to say just shop consciously, be aware. And that's why it's very important to educate people on the environmental impact of fast fashion as well, or the fashion industry at large. So when I, started learning about sustainable fashion, I think one of the things I realized easily was how, fashion on the front end is glamorous, it's beautiful, and it's all that. But on the back end, it is a whole mess. It is a whole mess. One of the first documentary I watched was The True Cost of Fast Fashion, and I believe everyone should watch that. The True Cost of Fast Fashion. It went
Highly
into
recommend.
exactly, it went into a lot of things. You find out about the human cost of fast fashion. It's talking about the Rana Plaza and everything. People are literally dying for this singular clothes we have on. Someone dies because of a clothes, like a human life for a clothes. And once you begin to think about all of this, you realize that it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. It's clothes that you would throw away after like 1 or 2 wears. Please, no.
Exactly. It's not worth it. And that's why we need to shop consciously and also value the clothes we have. And when I think about shopping consciously, I just go back to something I learned a while back. I think in 2023, when I started researching about fashion and sustainable fashion, there is a fashion psychologist called Shakila Forbes, and she has this 4-3-2-1 rule for shopping consciously. I think number 4 would be think of yourself in the outfit in 4 years' time, right? So think about the kind of person you want to be in 4 years' time. Would she love this clothes you're about to buy? Would she love this fashion piece you're about to buy? Do you see yourself wearing it in 4 years' time? Because I think oftentimes when we buy clothes, we don't even think about the longevity. Would this clothes even last in 4 years' time? Is it made from quality material that would, survive a 4-year time period, apart from even the psychology part of it? And then number 3 is consider yourself in the outfit in 3 different occasions, right? Can you style it with what you have currently in your wardrobe? It's going to be weird if I buy a cowboy hat right now, because how many clothes I have in my wardrobe now, no matter how
You
glam.
will be supporting Beyonce, you know. You
Exactly. I think there was this old meme about Iyabeji's birthday. I think she was exactly. So imagine I am with Beyonce fan and I'm tempted to buy a cowboy, and after that day, there will be no other day that will be it, because a, a cowboy hat doesn't go with anything I currently have in my wardrobe. Doesn't go. So I know that there are times whereby something looks shiny, something looks interesting, but consider yourself, does it actually go with whatever you have in your wardrobe? Would you be able to style it for at least 3 different styles? So I think if the answer is no, then you probably don't need that in your wardrobe. You can probably go with something else. And then number 2 is taking 2 deep breaths to fight the dopamine and adrenaline rush. So sometimes shopping is actually you are just stressed, or you're going through it. Exactly. Or you're
retail
going
therapy.
exactly. Okay, retail therapy. Exactly. You're just stressed, you're just going through a heartbreak, you're just, whatever. You don't feel good, and that's why you're shopping. So there's something I do. I don't know. Oh my god, there's something I do is that I just go to the clothing brand and I just have to cart. Like I intentionally pretend like I want to buy.
You window shop.
Exactly. I just, tell myself, oh, I have to shop. So I'm shopping, but that cart never gets cleared. Sorry to, those shopping websites have done that. But it just fits that desire. Okay. So if I feel like, oh, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling sad, and shopping is just the way to,
If
of
you want,
course.
if you want to plan your bounce back, like I need to.
Exactly. Exactly. It's a free watch. Shop. So I just go to the website and I just, oh, this is good, this is that. I eventually don't clear the cart. It's just there. So it has, I've deceived myself into thinking I'm actually shopping, and, I feel good afterwards. Or sometimes what I do is I just say I first. Maybe it's on Instagram, and I just say I first. And when I say I first, I look away. And then I see
Don't let Instagram
somebody.
vendors catch you. Don't let them catch you.
Sorry to all the vendors that said I too without buying. So sometimes I just do that to deceive myself that what, you've done it. Because sometimes these things are really psychological and there's nothing you can do about that. You just feel like shopping at the moment. So just, I don't know, just deceive yourself that you're shopping. But that's it. Sometimes you just an understanding that you don't really want this. You just want to feel good momentarily, and that's okay too at the same time. And I think
It's like taking ice cream, like if you are grieving and you add weight and all of that, so you don't want to take the ice cream. So something.
exactly. So yeah, and number one is taking a good night's sleep. Oftentimes, once you sleep and wake up, the feeling has passed away. I just realized that was I about to buy this ridiculous sunglass?
Sleep fixes it.
Exactly. Was I about to buy this shoe? This shoe doesn't look good. Exactly. So by the time you just take one good night's sleep and you look at it with a clear eye, you're like, this is not for me. But if you go through it and you're like, oh, this is definitely something I need. This is definitely my style. This is definitely something I'll be wearing for a long, long time. Then try it and buy it. So I just think that reading that, it just helps me shop more consciously over time, because at the end of the day, you're a fashion lover, you're going to shop, you're going to buy new fashion items. But what would ensure that you are practicing sustainability while doing that is to shop consciously, being conscious of all these factors. And you cannot be conscious of what you don't know of to start with. And that's why education is quite important in the sustainable fashion space. Knowing these things, understanding these things, understanding the human cost, the environmental cost. A lot of clothes are getting discarded, and the reason why they are getting discarded is because they're of low quality, because we discover that you don't even really like it as well. And realizing that this is doing more harm to our environment. If we keep on doing this, there'll be no future for our generation. There'll be no land. There'll be no environment that our future kids can enjoy and live in. And just knowing this would help you shop more consciously.
Wow. Thank you so much. Like, oh my God. Thank you so much for sharing all of those points. Um, do you still, I think you wanted to say something before I.
Yeah, okay. I think I have like two. I
Okay.
think I have like two more practical things. So I'll say number five things brings me down to the initial thing that even brought me to sustainable fashion, which is shopping second hand, right?
Yeah.
Buying, yeah, buying second hand clothing. So oftentimes we really need to buy new clothes, and buying second-hand clothing is not just, oh, I'm just buying clothing. It's also ensuring that these clothes do not go into landfill. I know there is a certain dilemma about, second-hand clothing and how they are, there's a negative side to it. They say it's derailing our fashion ecosystem in Africa and all of that. And I recently wrote up an article about that, which is the dilemma of second-hand fashion. And I mean, everyone can go read it at threadit.com. And I understand that there is that aspect of second-hand fashion. But at the same time, I think we cannot overlook the good side of second-hand fashion, which is you are ensuring that this clothing do not end up in landfills. And that is one thing that's quite important. That this clothing, because if you don't buy them, this clothing end up in landfill. And I also feel like second-hand fashion also ensures that there is a cup to fashion. Okay, there's this thing that goes around that says if we stop producing any new clothing today, we have enough clothing in circulation to last 6 generations. That is a lot to think about. That is a whole lot to think about. So if we currently have enough clothing, it begs the question, why are we still producing clothes? Like, why are we still producing fashion items? If you don't buy secondhand, where is the end goal of this? Landfill. Also, when we say, oh, practicing sustainable fashion and shopping consciously, we tell people don't buy from fast fashion brands, right? Buy from sustainable fashion brands. And we all know that sustainable fashion brands aren't exactly cheap, and that's for a good reason. They have to pay their workers fairly, they have to, ensure that they are getting their materials, in a sustainable manner. They have to ensure that they are not mass producing, and all of this, pops up the costs. So if I am earning, say, minimum wage 72,000 naira, and you are telling me that buy from a second hand, buy from a buy from a sustainable fashion brand, I cannot afford that. That's not within my tax bracket. I can't buy sustainable fashion clothing item of 72,000 naira when I earn 72,000 naira. So if I'm not buying from a sustainable brand, what's my other option? Fast fashion. And that's why when people say that, there should be a ban on on second-hand clothing, I'm usually like, I understand that, yes, it's causing its own damage to our fashion ecosystem in Africa. But at the same time, if you should ban second-hand fashion, you are pushing people that cannot afford sustainable fashion brands into the hands of fast fashion brands, because fast fashion is cheap. So the only competition for fast fashion currently is second-hand clothing. And that's why second-hand clothing are important, right? So if you are within a budget, you want to ensure that you are not buying fast fashion, the way to go is buying second-hand, buying quality good second-hand clothing. And that's and I think the last tip would be buying from sustainable fashion brands. If you can definitely afford it, that's the way. Take the money of those fast fashion brands that bring more harm to our environment and give it to the sustainable fashion brands who are, ensuring that they are producing ethically, they are paying their workers right. Because why this a fast fashion brand making millions and millions and millions of dollars that are going into the corporation and they are paying their garment workers $1 per day? Why is my money, falling that? Because at the end of the day, it's the consumer's money that is falling that. So in some sort of way, it's like you are using your money to kill someone else. So why is my money going into that? If I can afford it, then my money should definitely be going into sustainable fashion brands. And yeah, I think those are the tips I have for practicing sustainable fashion.
Thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. There's this saying, I think, that if you want to, or anytime you spend money on something, you vote for the kind of world that you want to live in. So, like,
Mhm.
basically, if you buy fast fashion, then you are fueling, what's it called? You are fueling, what's this thing? You are fueling environmental pollution. You are fueling exploitation of people. That's what I was looking for. You are fueling the exploitation of like fellow human beings like you. Even if you didn't know it like before, but now that you know it, I think we can all do better. Can all do
Exactly.
better and you know try and shop sustainable fashion brands. Try and shop secondhand clothing. Try and not even shop at all if you don't need to shop.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it's very beautiful that all of the tips you shared do not ever require you to spend money unless you want to spend. It's not like, okay, you need to go and first buy this and buy that and buy that and buy that. You don't, people say, so people like when they are need certain fashion, they say, oh, do I then throw away my old clothes, and then go and start shopping like something? Like, no, you don't have to do that. Just wear what you already have, wear them well, restyle them. If you don't want them anymore, donate them, resell them. Look for sustainable ways to
Mhm.
discard of them or get them out of your wardrobe. Repair your clothes. If they are minor repairs, you can watch YouTube channel. If they are not, find like tailors around you. If they're not tailors around you, the beautiful thing is there are now organizations, companies coming up in Nigeria that are repair companies. I'm
Yeah.
sure you can, if you don't want to send maybe just one clothes to them, you could just pile it up and then maybe after a while, if you have like a couple, send it to them, get them to repair it, and then and again, this is we used to do growing up. Even shoes, you repair
Yes.
your shoes, you take it to the shop,
Yes.
you repair
Yes.
even bags, school bags, all of those things, they repair all of this. I don't know. I think it's just I don't know what it is now. Maybe it's the 21st century thing that's or the 20 because I mean I don't know that we're all trying to be bougie and we don't want to repair things. We don't want to associate with our cultural practices, which,
Yes.
which our parents, I mean, which our ancestors, our parents, people that have gone before us, which they did for a reason. So I don't think we should check the wisdom of of the elders, so to say, because we want to look trendy and want to. And as a matter of fact, there's this opinion that the people who look the most stylish, they're not the ones that like buy everything that is trending. They are the ones
Yes.
that they carefully curate their wardrobe. They buy
Yes.
secondhand, they buy like they get hand me downs, this and that, and they just curate it beautifully. You could I think there's some pages on Instagram that they just interview people on the street, well dressed people, and ask them, "Oh, okay, how did you put this together?" And all of that. A lot of them, you don't see them wearing designers. They are
Yes.
wearing regular clothing that they just curated together. So you don't have to wear like the most trendy piece to be like the most stylish or the most fashionable. And
Yes.
again, everything you've just said, I mean, it's like if in fact like peer pressure, don't let peer pressure force
Yeah.
you into
True.
be
True.
like that Ashwebi you said, I mean, it's our culture yeah, yes, it is our culture. And it is beautiful because back when, like when our parents used to practice it, they will wear the clothes. I still, like, my parents still have clothes that they bought for someone's wedding or burial, maybe like 15 years ago. They are still wearing it today because they didn't buy it just to like
I think
wear
it's the way
for
we
that
even
day.
make them too. The way we, that old corset style that you cannot just wear anywhere else say again. So I think even if you buy the material, probably make it in a way that you can rewear it for, something else. Maybe wear it
Yeah.
to church again and something else. So I think it also boils down. I think in those days they'll just do the Iru and Buba. And Iru and Buba is something you can wear to church, you can wear to another occasion, another event. So I think it also boils down. We just have this whole streamlined aesthetic style that if someone sees this out, that this is a wedding aesthetic style. So I think that's also another issue with the whole aesthetic.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. And again, people are coming up with solutions. I see sustainable fashion brands now that are reselling or renting out Ashwebi.
Yeah.
So if you really want to like feel like you want to wear something new, or you don't have something that fits the theme of the pattern in your wardrobe, you could look for these Ashwebi rental brands, or resale brands, and get something from them. That is like a sustainable approach to do that. But definitely, like you mentioned, sewing the wearable styles, totally recommend. So thank you so much for all of the tips. I am so certain that everybody listening to this has learned like one or two things. Okay? They've learned like 10 things that they can implement like immediately. If you are, please start with your wardrobe first. That's the thing.
Yes.
Just go through your wardrobe, declutter, reorganize, and then from there, the things you don't wear, give them out or do some other things.
Exchange clothes with your friends too as well. I do that
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Exchange clothes with your friends. Definitely, if you have the same body size, exchange, like, just have fun with it. Again,
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be
exactly.
like, so serious and like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it, and I mean, you are going to be like, you know, taking action to improve the planet. If people fall into this trap of, it's just me, like, what will my one action do? But if all of us take like action, all of us, our this little action is going to come together and then make a big impact. So
Exactly.
thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. I am really grateful. I have learned like new things today. I want to that tip you shared on like putting clothes that you haven't worn in a while forward. I'm going to be doing
Yeah.
that definitely.
Thank you.
So thank you so much on behalf of myself and Miss Green Fashion. Really appreciate you for sharing your knowledge with us, and we hope for more partnerships and collaborations with you in the future.
I'm
Enjoy,
looking forward to that as well.
enjoy the rest of your day.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.